Hello and welcome to another edition of the Dallas Aftershow here on JLJ Media. I'm your host, James Lott Jr. So I was talking to my brother and talking to another friend of mine who's a Dallas fan after him about Dallas and its tone on and off camera. And I feel, and they felt the same way, I don't know how you feel, of course, it was very male heavy, very male centric, a little chauvinistic, perhaps. So when I look at that time period. Dallas came out in the late 70s, early 80s. No, well, not late 70s, but then went through, its heyday was the 80s. At that time, the daytime soaps were definitely female centric. People like Erica Kane, Catherine Chancellor. These are names you knew whether you watched soap or not. You knew who Susan Lucci was, Jeannie Cooper. In the 80s, got Kim Zimmer, Revolve over on Guiding Light. It was very much the women went through everything. The women went through all the emotions and all the storylines. The guys were there. I mean, Susan Lucci famously married to 8, 9 different men. Only a few of them actually were kind of her match. Jack probably was one of them, Jack Montgomery. But that's another show. That's another show. But it was very female centric. And a lot of the women, because it was made, many of them were made from women. I guess 4 women to sell products, 2 women. They were the ones who were at home at the time and all that kind of stuff. The men were either, window dressing, they were supporting characters, they were look good for them, did the women wrong. So women had all the emotion. It was very interesting what the perception, I guess, back then. And I think, later it started to change a bit. We get Luke and Laura, where Luke is a huge star. And brings along Laura. And there are other men that started to in the 80s, 90s, started to get really big. But when it first came out, kind of, the nighttime shows, especially the 80s, Knots Landing, very females heavy, very female centric. But the women, yes, Mac McKenzie came on later, like Kevin Dobson. He was a strong male. Greg Sumner, strong male. But still surrounded by a lot of women. There were a lot of women that were surrounding both of them. And a lot of the storyline. A lot of the story was Abby and Karen and Val, CG, all those people. Falcon Crest, Angela Channing. I mean, alone, that was the lead. And everything went down. Yes, Richard Channing was a strong character. Chase was a strong character. But I feel like it was still, again, about Melissa and Julia. And all these other people. It was very female, to me, female-centric. Dynasty, you already know that. Alexis, Crystal, Sammy Jo, Fallon. I mean, then later Amanda, Dominique Devereaux, all that. Yes, there was Blake. Yes, there was Dex. There were good stand-ups for that. But the women still got the cat fights and all the juicy, juicy, juicy stuff. So I was looking at that going with Dallas, J.R. Ewing, Jock, Bobby, Ray. It was very much a man's man show. Clayton Farlow coming in later, Dusty, Cliff. I look back at some of these episodes and I'm like, the women, and you can tell me if you agree with me or not, the women weren't written as well as they could have been. I think Miss Ellie was good. I think she was kind of, because she's the matriarch of the family, she was pretty good, written wise. But I look at Sue Ellen, I look at Pam, look at Catherine, I look at Jamie. Like I said, there were characters in April. There were characters that came on that had good moments, but their full potential is Lucy. I already told you a show on that, how she was wasted. Basically, there's a lot. They all had a lot of potential. I think Donna was well written. Donna Krebs was one that was well written. Yeah, Jenna Wade. It felt like sometimes the men just ran everything. And I've read some books and things on Dallas, and it was very male heavy. It was just, and the writers, the producers, the Larry Hagman, all that. I heard he's good to work with, but it was very much about the men. So I did a show about Mandy Winger, and we're talking about how she could have been written much better. Sue Ellen could have been written much better. I don't know. I just feel like it was the show, and even when we started the TNT version, Annie was a good character at first, and so was Pamela Rebecca. But I always felt like they just fell short when it came to the women of these shows for Dallas. The men were given lots and lots and lots of stuff, which in some ways maybe that was a breath of fresh air for some people, because it was literally Dallas was a show that men could watch and not be embarrassed by or not feel like that's a woman's show. I felt like that was a show that I know a lot of men who say I love Dallas, not they love Dynasty or not Slanting or Falcon Crest. They say they Dallas was one of their shows. It's almost like with Y&R, Young and Restless. A lot of men say I love the character of Victor Newman. Or a lot of guys, if they say they watch Days, they love Stefano Demira or Victor Kiriakis. Like there's those strong male anti-heroes that they can identify with. But with Dallas in general, it was a show that was very male. They exposed all the male stuff. It was very Dallas. It was very Texas, and all the treachery and the cheating and the scandal. And a lot of guys were there. I mean, they had that whole kind of group. I mean, out of all those people, they were kind of JR's colleagues. Mary Lee Stone was the one that was kind of standing up to them on some level, and things happened to her too. I just feel like that some of the women could have been written way better and could have got a more substantial, equal footing as the men on Dallas. And so just looking back at these episodes and thinking about things that are going on, I thought I'd bring it up with you guys out there. And I'm just really curious if you feel the same way or think I'm off the mark, or if you agree. Again, one of my favorite shows, my favorite soap, Nighttime Soap, it did have such great stuff. And so I'm not saying that at all, but I'm just kind of curious what you guys think. Comment below wherever you find this. Let me know what's going on. Thanks to all the Dallas groups that let me post this on their pages. I love you guys. Everyone, please take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next time here on JLJ Media, the Dallas After Show.